Olivia Rivera, the newly appointed CEO, was about to hold her first all-hands meeting. Waiting was mind-numbing, so I glanced down at my phone and texted my online fling. Craving strawberries. Almost instantly, a Venmo notification popped up. A transfer. $5,000. The note read, $5,000, go buy as many as you want strawberries. I stared at the screen, stifling a laugh that nearly slipped out loud. But then, gasps echoed across the room. I looked up, following everyone's gaze. On the massive projection screen at the front of the room, Olivia Rivera's messaging interface was on full display. And right there, front and center, was my message. Same words. Same profile picture. My chest tightened. Rivera's avatar was identical to the one in my phone. I sucked in a sharp breath and immediately turned off my phone screen. Too late. A few coworkers had already inched closer, gossip practically dripping from their voices as they squinted at the brief glimpse of the projected chat window. Was that her boyfriend? God, they're so clingy, makes me jealous as hell, one whispered. Right? She even pinned him to the top of her chats. And the nickname, Baby, another added. Who would have thought Rivera, all cool and untouchable, was such a hopeless romantic? Then came the dagger. Wait a sec, did anyone else notice something weird? That guy's profile pic. Daniel, doesn't it look exactly like yours? The whole group subtly leaned in, glancing down, then back up, every set of eyes suddenly locked on me. I cleared my throat awkwardly, doing my best impression of someone totally unbothered. Must be a coincidence, I said with a forced smile. Great minds think alike, right? Maybe we just both thought that avatar looked cool. Someone opened their mouth to press further, but... From the front of the room, Olivia cleared her throat, twice. Instant silence. I slowly turned my eyes toward her. She was calm, poised, standing at the head of the conference table like nothing had happened. But my mind was spinning. Out of all the possibilities I had imagined while texting that mystery woman for months, I never once considered that my online girlfriend might be Olivia Rivera, the new CEO of my company. I stared, openly, at Olivia's composed, businesslike expression. If I hadn't just seen it with my own eyes on my phone, there was no way, I would have ever connected this ice-cold, high-powered executive with the woman I'd been flirting with online for months. Olivia Rivera. Our new CEO. And the same woman who, in soft lowercase texts, would coo at me. Baby. Miss you, baby. Now here she was, in a perfectly tailored blazer, crimson lipstick, and gold-rimmed glasses, commanding the room with sharp precision. I thought about the photos she'd sent me. Her waist like a ribbon. Her skin, luminous, porcelain-like. Now she sat across the table, refined, untouchable, every move elegant and deliberate. The contrast hit me like a slap. My brain was spiraling. I couldn't look away. And while I was mentally reeling, she turned. Her gaze, deep amber and full of light, locked directly onto mine. For a moment, neither of us moved. Her perfectly shaped brows furrowed slightly. She tilted her head just so. Then, with a lazy rhythm, began tapping her fingers against the table. Tap. 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 My heart kicked into overdrive. I actually forgot to breathe. Only one thought pounded through my mind. This online fling is over. If Olivia ever finds out it's me, I'm toast. Not just fired, torched. That's when David, sitting beside me, nudged me hard, nearly shaking me out of my chair. Daniel. Hey, man, your phone. She's called your name, like, 3 times. He hissed it in a whisper, but every syllable hit like a brick. So I finally snapped out of it, fumbling to end the call and shove my phone back into my pocket like it was on fire. As soon as the meeting wrapped, I bolted, practically ran out of the room. All I could think about was one thing. How the hell do I break up with my boss? Back at my desk, I pulled up the chat thread with Olivia and just stared at it. Typed. Deleted. Typed again. Deleted again. No matter what I tried, the words wouldn't come out right. And it was like she was watching the typing bubble the whole time, waiting. Exactly 1 hour and 36 minutes into my agonizing silence, a message lit up the screen. Baby, what's wrong? You've been trying to say something, haven't you? I saw the typing thing for ages. Come on, we're past secrets, aren't we? I stared at her message, heart pounding so hard it almost hurt. I couldn't calm down. And Olivia wasn't done. When I still didn't reply, another text came through. Is it the $5,000 from earlier? Too little. If you want something else besides strawberries, just tell me. Don't hold back. I'll send more. And just like that, ding. A wire transfer. $50,000. Straight into my bank account. I sat there, staring at the notification. And my eyes, without warning, began to burn. I'd never actually used any of the money she sent me. Not a cent. But Olivia always thought I was just being modest. That I was saving it. So she kept sending more. Just 2 days ago, we were still giddy, talking about finally meeting in person. Now, this. How the hell was I supposed to end it? The pressure in my chest was building fast, borderline unbearable, when my mom called. No surprise there, same old script. When are you getting married? Any prospects? Don't let life pass you by. I rubbed my temples and gave her a vague, distracted answer. When I hung up and reopened the chat, Olivia had messaged me again. A whole stream of texts. She asked if I was okay. If something had happened. If I was upset. And then. I told my grandfather about us today. Let's meet soon, okay? I want to introduce my sweet boyfriend to him. He's going to love you. My chest tightened. Olivia was too good. Too generous. Too earnest. She didn't deserve this confusion, this limbo. So I clenched my jaw, braced myself. And finally sent the message I'd spent the whole night crafting. I can't. We should break up. After that, Olivia didn't respond. Not for the rest of the night. I lay in bed with my phone pressed against my chest, scrolling back through every message we'd ever exchanged. All the little jokes. The flirty lines. The warmth. The ache in my heart was sharp, almost physical. But then I reminded myself. She's the CEO. Of my company. And I told myself, over and over again. This is the right thing to do. The next morning, I dragged myself into the office with 2 massive dark circles under my eyes. David had called in sick and asked me to cover a round of content reviews for him. I agreed. Now I sat at his desk, numbly scrolling through video after video like a machine. Then, suddenly, a woman appeared on screen, wearing sheer black stockings, swaying her hips with deliberate seduction. I blinked. Nope. Blatantly inappropriate. I flagged the clip and bounced it back for removal. With a tired sigh, I leaned back, only for a memory to sneak up on me. A video Olivia had sent me about a month ago. She'd been on a work trip in Europe. Snow falling in thick white curtains. The video barely showed anything, just a glimpse of her ivory coat brushing past the frame. But I could still hear her soft, carefree laughter behind the camera. That sound had done something to me. Back then, it made my chest ache in the gentlest way. I was lost in that thought when a faint scent of jasmine drifted past my nose. Clean. Subtle. Intimate. I didn't even have to turn my head, her presence was immediate. I could feel strands of her hair brushing the side of my cheek. Her chin was nearly resting on my shoulder. When had she walked up behind me? My pulse spiked. Then, in a voice so low it almost melted into the air, she said, "Watching anything interesting, during work hours?" Her breath grazed my ear. Her body leaned close, just enough to rattle me, but not enough to cross a line. There was a note of fatigue in her tone, so faint it could have been missed by anyone else. But I heard it. Instantly. And somehow, that made my heart sink a little deeper. I quickly closed the video and avoided her eyes, scrambling for composure. "Ms. Rivera," I said, keeping my tone steady, "David called out today. I'm just helping review flagged content. That one's definitely getting rejected." She nodded, straightening slightly, about to step away. Then ping, my phone lit up on the desk. The screen glowed brightly with my lock screen. A shimmering gold wallpaper. A giant $sign, glinting like a Vegas billboard. She froze mid-step. Her eyes locked onto it. Unblinking. Then, slowly, deliberately, she turned to look at me. Her voice, when it came, was unsteady. Tinged with something fragile. Hopeful. You like that too?" My blood ran cold. That wallpaper. I'd sent it to her. It was 3 a.m., sometime last month. We were deep in one of our marathon chats. She'd casually asked, "What do you love most in the world?" I'd taken a screenshot of my lock screen. That bold, brash $sign, and sent it with a grin. "I'm a sucker for money," I joked. "Nothing I love more than a $sign." I never imagined she'd remember it. Or that she'd recognize it instantly. Panicking, I reached to grab my phone. But Olivia moved first. In one swift motion, she stepped in, spun my chair toward her, and stood directly in front of me. Arms crossed. Expression ice cold. But her eyes. There was a flicker of red behind them. Something raw. Something that looked a lot like hurt. I tried to glance away. Didn't get far. Her heel pressed firmly against the base of my chair, locking it in place. Nowhere to go. No choice but to look at her. Then, in a voice barely above a whisper, she asked, "Maybe, you already know who I am?" Olivia arched one brow, just slightly. She didn't have to raise her voice. She didn't need to say much. Her presence alone dragged the temperature of the room down by 10 degrees. Around us, every coworker suddenly found a reason to be very busy. Eyes glued to screens. Fingers typing nothing. It was clear, no one wanted to be caught in whatever was about to go down. Only a fool would step into the blast radius. Me? I was stuck dead center. Forced to face her head-on, I lifted my eyes. And that's when I saw it. Dark circles. Just faint. But there. She hadn't slept last night either. Still, I played dumb. I had to. Scratching the side of my nose, I mumbled, "I'm sorry, Ms. Rivera. I'm not sure what you mean." She studied me for a long beat. The suspicion in her gaze didn't fade. But something else flickered in, disappointment. She tilted her head, just enough to feel dangerously close. Her voice dropped to a murmur, like she was talking more to herself than to me. You look like him. The photos he sent, your profile, your nose. It's almost identical. The wallpaper, the $sign, my boyfriend sent that to me too. Even your voice, if I really listen." She trailed off. Then softly, "Could it be?" Her words were quiet. Barely above a breath. But I heard every syllable. And every one of them sliced straight through me. I started turning my chair ever so slowly, like if I moved gradually enough, I could disappear into the floor. My spine was stiff. my skin hot. Inside, I was screaming. Please don't recognize me. Please don't put it together. Please, God, don't let me lose my job like this. Suddenly, thud, Olivia's arm landed firmly on the edge of the desk, boxing me in. My escape route was gone. Her hair slipped forward, cascading over one shoulder, the strands falling along the elegant line of her neck. She tilted her head just slightly, her eyes catching the light, shimmering with something I couldn't name. And her lips. They pouted. Just a little. Just enough. My heart shot straight up into my throat. I swallowed hard. Couldn't stop myself. Then she spoke. Maybe you two are just really similar. It's just. I've never seen a full photo of his face. If I had, I'd know in a second. She paused. Then blinked and forced a shaky little smile. Anyway, never mind that. Since you seem so much like him, maybe you can tell me something. She leaned in just enough to blur the line between professional distance and something else entirely. Her voice dropped to a whisper, meant only for me. Why would a man suddenly want to break up, out of nowhere? There it was. No anger. No accusation. Just Olivia Rivera, cool, unshakable CEO, now staring at me with the softest trace of vulnerability. Those big, searching eyes. That hint of defiance in her voice. And the way she asked, tentative but determined, like she needed an answer and didn't know how else to get it. I felt something crack inside me. A pull so strong I nearly stood up and wrapped her in my arms right there. And the way she looked just then, framed by that single curtain of hair falling across her face. Only I could see it. No one else in the office had that angle. It was a moment meant for me and me alone. And for one wild second, I wanted to go back in time. Undo the breakup. Take it all back. Pretend none of this ever happened. But the words caught in my throat. And reality crashed back in. No matter how much I wanted to take it all back, I couldn't. I forced myself to shut it down. I pushed her back, just slightly, just enough to sever the moment. We broke up, I said, ice-lacing every word, because I don't love you. I'm sick of you, maybe. Her eyebrows knit together, and her eyes, those luminous, hopeful eyes, instantly turned glassy. Redness bloomed at the corners. She looked like a rabbit that had just had its ears pulled down. Small. Wounded. I see, she whispered. Barely audible. Maybe she didn't want me to see her like that, crumbling, fragile. Not the CEO. Just Olivia. And before the tears could fall, before I could see the full weight of what I'd done, she turned. Spun around in one swift motion. Her back to me, fists clenched tightly at her sides. Then she walked away, heels sharp against the floor, slicing through the silence, as she vanished into her office. She didn't come back out for the rest of the day. Even when I packed up to leave, the door stayed shut. That night, I sat in bed, staring at my phone. Her name hovered at the top of the screen. The typing indicator blinked on, then disappeared. On again. Off again. She was writing. Deleting. Rewriting. Then finally. A message arrived. Do you hate me? Is that it? Is that why you suddenly ended things? My chest clenched. I wanted to scream no. But I didn't. Instead, I typed one letter. Yeah. It wasn't true. Not even close. Seconds later, her reply came. What do you hate? Tell me. I must have missed it. I can change. Change? Olivia didn't need to change a thing. She was perfect. And that was exactly why this hurt so damn much. I couldn't think of what to say. My mind was blank. But Olivia, she kept typing. And when her next messages came in, they hit harder than I was ready for. Is it because I was too clingy? Did I make you feel suffocated? Or is it because I'm not pretty enough? Is that why you never wanted to meet in person? Or maybe I never considered your feelings. I always gave you what I liked, maybe that got on your nerves. Or was it something else? Each sentence twisted deeper into me. The more she tried to find reasons to blame herself, the more I realized I was the problem. And if I didn't end it, truly end it, this would only hurt her more. So I did the worst thing I could think of. The kind of reason no woman would ever try to fix. I bit down hard, steeled myself. And lied. It's none of that. It's because I'm married. I have a wife. And a son. She went completely silent. Didn't respond. Not that night. Not the next morning. And when I walked into the office the following day, she was already there. Sitting at the long glass table, still and silent. Wearing a fitted pencil skirt. Crimson lipstick sharp as a blade. Black sunglasses shielding her eyes. She looked flawless. Untouchable. Ice cold. But even from across the room, anyone with half a soul could feel it. Something in her was broken. It wasn't the silence. It wasn't the sunglasses. It was the energy. The absence of light. She didn't look angry. She looked hollow. And I knew, without a doubt, that was my doing. I felt like hell. Didn't want to talk to anyone. Didn't even want to exist in the same room as Olivia if I could help it. So I kept my head down. Kept quiet. Avoided eye contact like my job depended on it, because maybe it did. Somehow, in that fog of guilt and silence, I ended up saying yes when Gabriel asked me to take over a project handoff. Didn't even register what I'd agreed to, until he dragged me straight to Olivia's office. Right up to the door. Right into the line of fire. Wait, no. I can't. Really. Pick someone else. I reached for the door handle, ready to bolt. But Gabriel was faster. He clapped a firm hand on my shoulder and spun me right back around, grinning like he'd just scored points with the boss. Ms. Rivera, he said with way too much cheer, Daniel's one of our best. You're in great hands. He'll take it from here. Go ahead and exchange contact info now. Kill me. Olivia sat behind her executive walnut desk, still wearing those oversized sunglasses, as unreadable as ever. She didn't say a word. Just reached for her phone, slid it across the desk, and nodded, barely. The message was clear. Add me. Now. I froze. No. If I scanned her QR code, my account, my real account, would pop right up. Same name. Same profile photo. Everything. That would be the end of it. Game over. Mask off. I could already feel sweat trickling down the back of my neck. My mind scrambled for something, anything. And just before I completely short-circuited, I latched onto the first pathetic excuse I could muster. I put on the most unconvincing performance of my life. Ms. Rivera, actually, my account's been acting up lately. Can't seem to add anyone right now. Maybe give it a few days. Once it's fixed, I'll come back in. I was already planning an escape route. Thinking about creating a burner account. Something, anything. But Gabriel, the ever-helpful executioner, cut me off with a cheerful grin. No problem at all. I'll just send her your contact directly. And before I could even flinch, he pushed me forward, turned on his heel, and left. Someone had called him from down the hall. Door shut behind him. I was alone. Alone with her. I turned, slowly, to face Olivia. She sat still, her fingers tapping rhythmically on the desk. A soft tick-tick-tick that echoed louder than it should have. My legs began to shake. I tried to laugh it off, though my voice cracked halfway through. "Well, funny thing, Ms. Rivera, turns out we're already friends on the app." Silence. Then she stood up. With one sudden, graceful movement, she rose from her chair. The heels. The click of them against the hardwood floor. Each step deliberate. Unrelenting. She moved toward me, and I backed up. Step by step, until my spine hit the wall. Nowhere to run. No place to hide. She lifted one arm and planted it next to my head, trapping me in place. A perfect wall slam. With the other hand, she slowly pushed her sunglasses down just enough to reveal her swollen, red-rimmed eyes. Then, gently, heartbreakingly, she pinched the fabric of my shirt between her fingers. Just enough to make it feel intimate. Her voice came out hoarse, breaking at the edges. "Daniel, the boyfriend in my phone. It really was you, wasn't it? Where exactly were you planning to run? And last night, all those things you said. You lied to me, didn't you?" Her tear-filled eyes blinked up at me, begging for an answer. Still hoping for something she could hold on to. And all I could do was stand there, fists clenched, chest tight. And face what I'd tried so hard to avoid. The word barely escaped my lips. I couldn't meet her eyes. Her gaze was too direct, too sharp, too knowing. My chest tightened. My thoughts tangled, spiraling like a storm with no center. I looked away, pathetic. Worse, I flinched. But Olivia wasn't going to let me run this time. Her breath was uneven. Her chest rose and fell in sharp, trembling waves. Tears shimmered at the corners of her eyes as she pulled out her phone. And then she started scrolling. Message after message. Pages of them. Memories wrapped in texts. Inside jokes. Long nights. Midnight confessions. Shared silences. A private universe that had belonged only to the two of us. Now, it was evidence. Her voice cracked through the silence as she cried. "You used to be so sweet to me. We clicked so easily. Everything felt so real. Was that all fake? You'd stay up all night just to hear me vent, was that fake? You remembered the exact minute of my birthday. You planned it. You made me feel like I mattered. Was that fake too?" Then she looked up at me, eyes glassy, voice trembling. "Daniel, was your love for me ever real?" And without hesitation, before my mouth could move, my heart answered. Yes. Yes, it was real. I had loved her. I'd paid attention to every word she said, memorized the curves in her voice, watched her show up for me over and over until she filled corners of my world I didn't even know were empty. She wasn't just a username. She was Olivia. This Olivia. And I knew her. But reality had a way of twisting truth into silence. Standing here, trapped in a situation no script could fix, with every consequence breathing down my neck. I froze. My heart screamed the truth. But my body held it hostage. My hands twitched, aching to reach for her. To wipe away the tears streaking down her cheek. But, what right did I have? Who was I to her now? Just some junior employee in a corporate org chart. A liar. A ghost in a chat window. My fingers hovered in the space between us, trembling. And then, I pulled back. I let logic win. Again. And just like that, the light in her eyes shifted. That tiny spark of hope that had flared for half a second, flickered out. Her gaze dimmed. Quietly. Devastatingly. She sniffled once. Then, in a voice just like the one from our late-night chats, soft, sweet, barely there, she leaned in, and pressed my hand to her cheek. Warm. Silky. Damp with tears. The moment her skin touched my palm, something inside me crashed. I didn't stand a chance. And Olivia had the kind of face that made it impossible to lie to yourself. Beautiful in a way that hurt to look at. And she looked up at me as she nuzzled into my hand, vulnerable, needy, real. Daniel, she whispered. What are you so afraid of? Why did you break up with me out of nowhere? I looked you up, you know. You're not married. You don't have a kid. So why lie to me? If we hadn't added contacts today, if I hadn't gotten suspicious and searched, were you just going to hide forever? Are you afraid I wouldn't love you in real life? Afraid there's too big a gap between us offline? There's not. I swear there's not. I love you. I love you deeply, Daniel. After everything we've been through, all those nights, all those words, I love you. Please don't throw me away. Tell me what I did wrong. Just tell me, and I'll fix it. Her voice wobbled and cracked, but it didn't stop. She just kept going, pouring herself out with the same intensity she once used to build me up. Tears spilled down her cheeks without pause, but still, she clung to me. Still searching for some part of me that hadn't shut down completely. And I was breaking. Every word she spoke carved through my restraint. Every tremble in her voice twisted deeper into my chest. I wanted to reach out. Wipe her tears. Hold her. Tell her everything. My arms tensed. My body leaned forward. I was one breath away from pulling her into me and never letting go. But then, a knock at the door. Gabriel's voice came through, cheerful and loud. Hey, Daniel. There's a woman and a kid out here asking for you, said they're your wife and son. Silence detonated in the room. Both Olivia and I froze. My brain spun into overdrive. Wife? Kid? Mine? Since when? Where? That lie I'd fed Olivia just days ago, the one I made up to push her away, had suddenly, impossibly, manifested. I felt myself go numb. Olivia stared at me, chest rising and falling, hands clenched so tight her knuckles turned white. She looked like someone who'd just been sucker-punched. Like her entire reality had caved in. Then she stumbled back, literally. Like her body had to physically distance itself from mine. Outside, Gabriel knocked again. Inside, Olivia's face contorted, pain, disbelief, betrayal. And then, she forced it down. With a choked scoff, she lifted her sunglasses, hiding the swollen eyes that had only just stopped crying. Her voice came out flat. Hollow. Guess I was wrong about you. She turned her back to me, hand waving the conversation off like it was just some minor inconvenience. Turns out you really are the kind of guy who plays women for fun. I stood there, speechless. Completely undone. No. I burst out. I don't even have a wife or a kid. That was a lie, I made it up, okay? I didn't want to hurt you more by dragging things out. I panicked. You're the only person I've been with. I swear to God, I haven't dated anyone else. She let out a short, bitter laugh. Didn't even turn around. Just shrugged, shoulders stiff, arms crossed, spine ramrod straight. Like she was bracing herself for one last impact. And when she spoke again, her voice was sharp, but tired. Sure, Daniel. Sure. I took a deep breath, grabbed the door handle, and stormed out. I had to see who the hell just dropped a live grenade into my life. But the second I stepped into the hallway, I froze. There, teary-eyed, round-cheeked, arms wide open, stood Lucas. That little neighborhood menace. Without hesitation, he launched himself at me. Daddy. Daddy, I missed you so much. I blinked. You've got to be kidding me. Lucas. I opened my mouth, ready to shut it all down. Ready to explain that just because I was friendly with his actual dad, Victor, didn't mean he got to call me Dad in public. But I never got the chance. Because just as the first word was crawling up my throat, I caught a glimpse of Olivia peeking around the office door. And the look on her face, like she'd just walked in on a murder, told me everything I needed to know. She'd seen it. And that was it. No trial. No defense. Guilty. She stormed past me, arms crossed, fury radiating off her like heat. And without missing a beat, she kicked me right in the back of the knee. I stumbled forward, half falling to the ground. Her voice rang out, loud and righteous, slicing through the air like a courtroom gavel. A man who abandons his wife and child, in the workplace, no less. Absolutely despicable. You're a disgrace to the human race. The entire office gasped. In unison. I was still half kneeling on the floor, stunned, trying to process how the most ridiculous lie I'd ever told had just come back to destroy me in 4K. Meanwhile, Olivia adjusted her sunglasses with practiced cool, her hair flowing like she was in a goddamn fragrance ad. And walked away without a single glance back. My coworkers? They were thriving. One cracked open a bag of mixed nuts like he was at a movie. Another sipped from his water bottle, turning in his chair with barely disguised excitement. It was like a live taping of Real Housewives, Office Edition had just kicked off. And I was the tragic clown of the hour. The chaos in our otherwise soul-crushing workplace had finally delivered a headliner, and I was it. I couldn't bring myself to meet their eyes. Not with the smug amusement I could feel radiating from across the floor. I clenched my jaw and pried Lucas off my leg. He was holding on like he thought I'd vanish. How the hell did you even find me? I hissed. Since when am I your dad? And where the hell did the wife come from? Are you trying to get me killed? Lucas blinked up at me, all innocence and theatrical sniffling, then arched one little eyebrow. And tilted his head toward the entrance. I followed his gesture. Standing at the doorway, hand over her mouth, was a woman I immediately recognized. Of course. It was his teacher. The same one who'd asked me, just once, to fill in as Lucas's guardian during a parent-teacher meeting because his real parents were out of town. One favor. One. And this little gremlin had apparently turned that into a whole-ass narrative. Unreal. So now, when he got into trouble again, too scared to tell the truth to his actual parents, he'd dragged his teacher here, to my office. And lit the match that exploded my life. That's what all this was. All of it. A 10-year-old cover-up job gone nuclear. Of course. Just as I was yanking Lucas up by the ear, the teacher stepped forward. Sharp suit. Tired eyes. No patience left in the tank. Her tone was all business, no mercy. Lucas was caught eating snacks in class, broke a window during recess, and snuck out mid-lesson to confess to a girl on the playground. When I said I'd be scheduling a home visit, he insisted on bringing me here. Then she crossed her arms, eyes narrowing like twin judgment beams. So tell me, Mr. Lucas's father, are you really so buried in work that you've completely neglected your own child? It hit like a lightning strike from Mount Morality. I blinked, stunned, as Lucas, perfect little chaos demon that he was, clung to my shirt and burst into performance-level sobbing. Snot. Tears. Trembling lower lip. The full Oscar reel. Don't be mad at Daddy, he sniffled. He's working so hard for my future. I promise I'll never misbehave again. Then, with the instincts of a veteran scam artist, he looked up at me, wet-faced and wide-eyed. "Daddy, just apologize to the teacher for me, okay? Then everything will be fine." And to really seal the deal, he pressed his palms together like a little monk and bowed. Twice. Meanwhile, his lips barely moved as he mouthed a bribe. 10 lollipops. 5 ice cream tubs. Just do it. My coworkers? Still watching. Still loving it. The whispering turned into a full-blown commentary section. Wow. So Daniel's been hiding a secret family this whole time? Right? And he seemed so normal. Can't believe he just ignores his kid like that. Their voices dripped with judgment. Eyes wide, glinting with gossip-hungry delight. I could feel every word stab into my spine. That was it. I snapped. I shoved Lucas's mop of curly hair down so he couldn't squirm away, one hand planted firmly on his skull like I was containing a live grenade. The other hand? I pulled out my phone and called his actual parents. "Pick up your damn kid." I barked into the receiver. "Now. I'm not even kidding. If you don't get here fast, I will literally have to move to another city." Thank God for Victor and Elena. Reliable, no nonsense, and, when needed, terrifying. 30 minutes later, they came storming through the office lobby like wrath incarnate. Victor's eyes were bugging out of his head. Elena's glare could have melted steel. "Lucas. You little gremlin. You've been going around assigning dads again?" Victor thundered. Elena didn't even speak. She just stared. That was somehow worse. The chaos was cleared up with ruthless efficiency. "Teacher? Apologized to. Coworkers? Silenced. Lucas?" Cried his eyes out and mumbled a full, red-faced confession about how he'd just made it all up. When they finally dragged him away, I watched the door close behind them like it was a portal back to my sanity. For the first time all day. I stood up straight. Shoulders back. Chest lifted. Daniel, no longer disgraced in the court of public office opinion. Rough day, huh? Gabriel strolled past, casually clapping a hand on my shoulder like he was congratulating me on a job well done. His voice was full of it, gratitude, amusement, that post-theater satisfaction people get after watching someone else's life unravel. I wanted to deck him. He was the one who shouted that nonsense in the hallway. He told Olivia I had a wife and kid waiting for me. He lit the fuse. But I let it go. Just stood there, still. My mind was somewhere else. Because now the question clawing at me wasn't about Lucas, or the teacher, or the gossip still floating in the office air. It was about her. Would Olivia even care to hear the truth? Would she want to know that I never loved anyone else? That there was no wife. No child. That the only person I'd ever called mine was her? My eyes drifted down to the screen of my phone. The text box was still empty. I didn't type. Didn't send. Didn't reach out. Not that day. Not the next. I turned everything over in my head for a full 24 hours. The words were there. But I couldn't say them. Because the more I thought about it, the more I convinced myself. Maybe it was better this way. Better to disappear before she cared too much. Before she loved me in a way I couldn't return. Maybe I was just a passing fascination for her. A curiosity. Something new and beneath her. Something thrilling to love, just for a moment. And if that was true, then I'd already gotten more than I deserved. To have had her, even briefly. That was enough. After all, she was a CEO with millions behind her name. And me? I was just a man who lived paycheck to paycheck. A ghost with a good Wi-Fi connection. We were never really in the same story to begin with. Rock bottom doesn't come all at once. Sometimes it's just you, lying in bed in the dark, endlessly scrolling through her Instagram. Watching old videos on loop. Reading every caption like it holds some hidden message just for you. I became a ghost in her digital world. Hovering, not touching. Feeding on stolen pieces of her life to feel whole again. Like some pathetic thief, scavenging beauty he no longer deserved. I told myself it would fade. That if I could just avoid her long enough at work, it'd pass. The awkwardness. The ache. But Olivia didn't show up the next day. Or the day after that. 3 days. 4. By the 5th, I couldn't take it anymore. Her social media hadn't changed at all. No updates. No cryptic posts. No new stories. Just, nothing. My anxiety gnawed at the inside of my chest. I caved. Found her assistant, Sophia, lingering near the copy room. Tried to sound casual. Failed. Hey, Rivera hasn't been in. Did she say anything? Sophia glanced up, and for a moment, just a flicker, I saw something shift behind her eyes. A softness. Then sympathy. She clicked her tongue and sighed. Honestly? Not sure what happened to her. After that day, she went home, locked herself in her place. Wouldn't eat. Wouldn't drink. Apparently she just shut down. Completely. Next thing we hear, she's in the hospital. The air in my lungs vanished. I stood frozen as Sophia handed me a stack of files. Since you're here, do me a favor, she added, oblivious to the crater her words had just left in me. Drop these in her office, right-hand bookshelf, 3rd shelf down. Thanks. But I barely heard her anymore. I couldn't stop picturing it. Olivia. Sick. Curled up in a hospital bed. Cheeks pale. Lips dry. Eyes puffy from crying. Voice too weak to speak. Because of me. Because of what I'd said. Because I'd made her feel disposable. And I hadn't even been brave enough to tell her the truth. With a heavy sigh, I knelt down and slid the files into the shelf just as Sophia had instructed. I was about to stand when something caught my eye. Just beside the folders, tucked almost out of sight, was a gift box. Beautifully wrapped. Elegant. Expensive. The kind of wrapping that made you feel unworthy even touching it. And across the top, in Olivia's handwriting. To my beloved boyfriend, Daniel. My breath caught. My heart tripped, skipped, stopped. I stared at the name. My name. Even though I knew I shouldn't, knew it was wrong to open something that wasn't technically mine. This wasn't some stranger's gift. It was for me. She wrote it to me. That made it okay, right? I pressed a hand to my chest, trying to quiet the frantic rhythm beneath my ribs, and carefully knelt down, cradling the box in both hands. It trembled in my grip. I peeled it open slowly. Inside. Delicate little keepsakes. Each one more personal than the last. A miniature model set, intricately built, clearly crafted by hand. A tiny figurine that looked suspiciously like me. A Porsche car key. A deed to an apartment. Gifts stacked on gifts, impossibly thoughtful. And nestled among them, a handwritten card. I unfolded it, barely breathing. Her handwriting danced across the paper, elegant and precise. I don't know for sure if you're him. But my soul tells me it's you. Could I be wrong? Could someone who loves you this much really be wrong? I saw that wallpaper today. I don't know if I was right. But just in case you are him. You once told me you never got birthday presents growing up. So I got every single one you missed. All of them. Every year. All the love that should have been there. Would it make you happy? Would it make you love me more? I don't know. I don't know anything anymore. Except one thing. I love you. Deeply. Unshakably. That. I know for certain. I couldn't hold it in. My hands trembled. The card slipped slightly in my grip. And the tears came, heavy, quiet, unstoppable. Falling fast. Soaking the edges of her letter. I stayed like that, kneeling on the floor, holding the proof of a love I thought I'd ruined, drowning in the weight of what I'd almost thrown away. Olivia. She'd walked 99 steps toward me. And now I realized. She may have loved me even more deeply than I ever dared imagine. Letting that kind of love go to waste. Letting it echo back with no answer. I knew I'd regret that for the rest of my life. So I wiped my tears. Wiped my nose. Pulled myself together the best I could. And at exactly 6 p.m., as everyone filtered out of the office, I grabbed my phone, my keys, and ran. Straight to the grocery store. Loaded up on every kind of supplement and comfort food I could carry, vitamin drinks, bone broth, herbal teas, fruit. Anything that said, "You matter," without needing to say it out loud. Then I went to her. To the hospital. To Olivia. "What room is Ms. Rivera in?" "Got it. Thanks, Sophia." I hung up the call, nerves flaring again. I stood outside her door, frozen. Tried to breathe. Tried again. Paced in a circle, rehearsing every possible opening line in my head. But nothing sounded right. I'd lift my hand to knock, then drop it again. Again. 27 times. Just as I braced myself for attempt number 28. The door opened. Softly. Slowly. And there she was. Olivia. One hand braced against the doorframe, the other pressed gently to her side. Her face was pale. Her lips colorless. But she was still, her. Still strong. Still sharp. Still stunning. When her eyes landed on me, something flickered. A flash of surprise, maybe even hope, flared and died in the same second. Her lips curled upward. Briefly. Just enough to make my heart jolt. But then it was gone. Replaced by the familiar chill. "What are you doing here?" she asked flatly. No warmth. No welcome. She looked me over once. And said nothing more. My throat tightened. Heat rushed to my face. But when I saw her wince from the effort of standing, everything else vanished. I rushed forward and dropped the heavy bags inside her room, box after box of carefully chosen things. Balm. Fruit. Soup. Tea. Tiny apologies packed in plastic and paper. I didn't say anything clever. Didn't plead my case. Just showed up. And hoped that somehow, that still meant something. I moved instinctively. Stepped forward and gently took her arm, careful not to touch her too firmly. "Ms. Rivera," I said, voice low, almost breathless, "I heard you weren't well. I came to check on you. Where are you headed? Let me help you." She didn't answer. Just gave a faint nod and let me support her. She needed to go to the bathroom. I guided her slowly down the hall, steadying her every step, careful not to look too proud or too eager. When we returned, I helped her back into bed. Watched her flinch slightly as she lay down, her whole body aching from days of neglect. She never once thanked me. Never once looked at me. She treated me like I wasn't even there. Like I was just a pair of hands, useful, but invisible. And I couldn't blame her. I sat awkwardly at the foot of her bed, rubbing my palms together like some kid waiting for a punishment. Every minute felt like a punishment already. Maybe I should go. Maybe I should stop pretending I had any right to be here at all. I stood. barely made it halfway to the door, when her fingers suddenly grabbed my sleeve. Not hard. Not desperate. Just enough. I turned. Her expression was the same, cool, unreadable. But her cheeks were faintly pink. Her grip lingered. Her voice was sharp, but something in the edges, softened. Tentative. Barely there. "Where are you going?" she said. "That's it? That's what you came here for? Just to look at me and leave?" I sat back down. Quietly. Heart thudding like a drum in a locked room. She didn't say another word after that. And neither did I. But I couldn't stop looking at her. At her pale cheeks. At the weight loss I hadn't seen before. At the little crack in her strength she tried so hard to hide. All I could think about were the days she'd spent hurting, alone. Unfed. Unspoken to. Unloved. Because of me. Because I couldn't be honest. Because I ran. And the more I thought about what I'd done, and what she still managed to give me despite it, the deeper the ache burrowed into my chest. It was unbearable. And completely deserved. "Be brave." A voice inside me whispered. I had just opened my mouth when. "Will you come take care of me tomorrow?" Olivia's voice was barely above a whisper. Her ears flushed pink. She turned her face away, awkward and stiff, like she was trying to hide from the words she'd just spoken. I blinked. Surely I misheard that. I stared at her, unsure if I was dreaming. "What did you say?" I asked, stunned. With a scoff, she snatched her hand back, crossing her arms tightly over her chest. "Don't get any ideas. I'm just tired of being alone. I can't do everything by myself right now. That's all. So I'm giving you a chance to be useful. You should be grateful." She looked like a grumpy little cat. And somehow, my heart ached in the softest, most ridiculous way. A smile tugged at the corners of my lips before I could stop it. I couldn't help but tease. "So, you don't hate me anymore? You're not mad about the whole imaginary wife and kid thing?" Olivia rolled her eyes dramatically and lifted her phone in one limp hand, waving it like a flag of resignation. "Please. I'm a CEO. You think I don't monitor everything that happens in my company?" I nodded like my life depended on it. She sighed, finally giving in to the exhaustion. "I'm going to sleep. You can go now." And so I did. I left quietly, gently closing the door behind me. But barely had my footsteps faded when Olivia ducked under her blanket and began thrashing like a teenager. Her heart was pounding so loud she swore it echoed in the room. She rolled back and forth, clutching the covers, biting her lip to keep from grinning like an idiot. It took her forever to calm down. Eventually, she sat up against the pillows, trying to slow her breathing. That's when she looked over at the hospital bed next to hers. There, a boy, both arms bandaged, unable to feed himself. And next to him, a girl, carefully blowing on each bite of food and gently feeding it to him. Slow. Patient. Completely focused. A small smile played at Olivia's lips. And then, her gaze shifted slightly. To the drawer. Where a pair of scissors rested quietly. The next morning, I couldn't get to the hospital fast enough. I all but ran to her room, excitement crackling under my skin. But the moment I opened the door, my steps slowed. Because there she was. Olivia. Sitting quietly on the hospital bed, wrapped in a soft robe, one hand bundled in layers of pristine white gauze. She looked like she'd been waiting forever. Eyes cast toward the door every few seconds. Like something, or someone, was late. When I stepped in, she lifted her head. A smile bloomed across her face, bright, unfiltered joy. But it vanished almost immediately, replaced with her usual cool tone. "You finally showed up," she said, brows arched in mock impatience. I nodded sheepishly. But before I could say anything else, she gave a dramatic sigh, then glanced down at her stomach, like it held the world's greatest tragedy. Then her eyes flicked to the untouched food tray on the table beside her. "Nurse botched the 4 last night," she muttered. "My right hand's out of commission. Can't move it today." Sure enough, her face was even paler than yesterday. I felt a surge of protective anger. What kind of rookie nurse messes up a simple 4? Someone needed to be fired. Olivia pouted, lips pushed out just enough to be dangerous. She looked at me. Then at the food tray. Back at me. "Shame," she said, faux innocent. "I can't use my left hand." What a tragedy, huh? I didn't even hesitate. "I'll do it. Let me take care of you." I grabbed the tray, pulled up a chair, and sat down in front of her like it was the most natural thing in the world. Scooped a spoonful. Blew on it gently. Then offered it to her. Olivia's eyes curved into little crescent moons, sparkling with mischief and something far softer underneath. She leaned forward and took the bite. Her cheeks puffed slightly, full of food and satisfaction. And in that tiny moment, her eyes warm, her lips curved, her posture relaxed. I saw something I hadn't seen before. Not just the woman who used to command conference rooms like a queen. But someone who wanted, just for once, to be cared for. And this time, I was ready to be the one to do it. With every bite she took, Olivia would glance up at me, just a flicker of her eyes, then grin like she was silently applauding her own brilliance. And her head? It bobbed with every chew, a tiny rhythm of satisfaction. It gave me this strange feeling, like she was pleased with herself. Like she'd pulled off something elaborate and perfectly timed, and now she was savoring the results. There was something smug in the way she moved. But not in a bad way. It was adorable. I didn't question it too much. I just kept feeding her, one spoonful at a time. And when I brought the next bite to her lips, she leaned in a little, her hair brushing softly against my wrist. A flutter of warmth spread through me. Then, between bites, she looked at me sideways and asked. "You'll come take care of me for as long as I'm here, right?" I didn't even blink. "Of course." I thumped my chest. "You can count on me." And that's when I learned. She was staying. A long time. Nearly a month, they said. I showed up again the next day, as promised. Arms full of soup, steamed fish, fruit cups, vitamin drinks. But just as I rounded the corner toward her room, I heard voices up ahead. Nurses. A small group, chatting casually near the nurses' station. I slowed my steps. One of them let out a giggle and said, "That patient, Olivia, right? Is she, not all there?" The words hit me like a slap. My fists clenched. I nearly stormed over, ready to snap. But then the others chimed in, and what they said next made my throat close up. "Yeah, I thought so too. It's weird, right? She could have been discharged last week. She keeps asking for extra tests, extended rest. She won't leave. Why would anyone stay in a hospital room when they're already cleared to go? And she's paying out of pocket for this. It's not cheap. All this money, just to sit in bed? Pretty girl, too. Must be going through something." They trailed off, laughing gently, shaking their heads. They didn't get it. They had no idea. But I did. I stood there in the hallway, eyes stinging, heart cracking open in real time. They thought she was foolish. Delusional. But I understood. She was staying, for me. Olivia. She'd found the most awkward, roundabout way to keep me close. She couldn't ask directly, not anymore. Not after I broke her heart. So she stayed, quietly. Clumsily. Hoping I'd get the message. This beautiful, ridiculous girl. My chest tightened. I blinked hard, holding back the sting in my eyes, and walked fast, straight toward her room. She was sitting up when I walked in. Eyes trained on the door, hope flickering in her expression like a match trying not to burn out. But the moment she saw me, she pressed it all down. Swallowed the light. Put on that carefully neutral face like a shield. You came, she said, tone measured. So, today. She didn't get to finish. I stepped forward and wrapped her in my arms. Held her against me like I'd been waiting years to do it. Her body stiffened, then stilled. My voice shook as I spoke into her hair. Olivia. I like you. She froze. Leaned back slightly, eyes wide, breath caught somewhere in her throat. I saw the gift box in your office, I whispered. The one labeled for me. I read your letter. I saw everything. I know what you did for me, how you waited, how you stayed. I used to think I wasn't good enough for you. That I'd ruin your life. That I was just temporary, and you'd wake up one day and regret ever loving me. I was scared. Of love. Of losing my job. Of being seen. But now. Bang. The hospital door flung open like a comedy sketch had just kicked in. A dozen co-workers stood frozen in the doorway, arms full of gift bags, balloons, potted plants, and get-well-soon cards. At the front of the pack? Gabriel. And the angle from the door? Well, to him and the entire office. It looked like I was kissing Olivia. The air went dead silent. Ms. Rivera, we heard you were about to be discharged, so we thought. His voice trailed off like a dying ringtone. Everyone stared. I was still half bent over her, arms locked around her back. Olivia looked up at me, completely dazed. And then her cheeks flushed the deepest shade of pink I'd ever seen. At the door, our co-workers were already dying. One of them clamped a hand over her eyes, laughing so hard she nearly dropped the flower pot she was holding. Sorry. Sorry. We didn't mean to interrupt, she called out, loudly. I knew something was up with how often Daniel's been coming here. Of course, every single one of them was peeking through their fingers like nosy middle schoolers at a sleepover. The door finally swung shut with a soft click. And Olivia and I practically leapt away from each other, cheeks on fire. We didn't say anything. Didn't have to. Our matching blushes were doing all the talking. That's when my phone rang. Mom. Of course. Daniel, came her voice through the speaker, you're still single? Do you know how many years it's been? Not even a rumor about a girlfriend? You need help, I swear. Maybe it's time for blind dates. Or therapy. Or both. Actually, should I just list your profile in the church's singles group? Huh? Daniel? Mom. I groaned, cutting in before she could start sending out pamphlets. But before I could say anything else, Olivia reached over, snatched my phone out of my hand, and raised it to her ear with a sly, dimpled smile. Tilting her head, she chirped. Hi Bella. Don't worry, Daniel's about to have a wife. He's getting everything he ever wanted. My car. My house. My savings. My company. My love. Most importantly, me. He's stuck with me now. And right after that bold declaration, she stood on her tiptoes. And planted a kiss on my cheek. Then cupped my face in her palms, rubbing my flushed skin like she was trying to brand me with affection. Her voice softened. So, Daniel, she whispered, before we go home, would you be my boyfriend for just a little longer? Long enough to meet my grandfather? I looked at her. At this woman who'd loved me in all the quiet, stubborn, brilliant ways that mattered. And then I kissed her. A real kiss. No awkward interruptions. No fear. Just us. Of course, I said. It would be my honor, girlfriend.